All right, let's go. Today we are going to see how to cut down a tree that is bigger than your chainsaw, bigger than your guide bar on your chainsaw. Typically, you ought to cut down trees, logs that are less than the diameter. Their diameter is less than the length of your bar. So if you have a 15-inch log, you should be cutting with a bar that is more than 15 inches. Now the difficulty here gets when you're into some bigger trees that are just significantly bigger than your bar. So I have a 20-inch bar on my chainsaw, and I'm going to be cutting down this tulip poplar tree right over here. You probably cannot get a full scale of this tree exactly this way, except by referencing something else, another object. But this tree is probably at least 30 inches diameter. It's not a huge tree. We're not talking about some kind of 5, 7, 10 foot diameter monster here. But we're talking about something that is definitely significantly bigger than my chainsaw bar. I have a 20-inch bar and I'm cutting down a 30-inch tree. So this is easily doable if you know what you're doing. It's just something that if you don't know what you're doing could be dangerous or what have you. Now, a simple solution would be just get a bigger bar. I'm sure some of you are going to say that. But for many people, spending $70 on a new bar, spending $50 on a new chain for that bar to cut down one tree that's too big and maybe never use it again is just not worth it. So if you have a powerful saw and a decent bar on it, you can make the most of that and cut down a tree that's just a little too big. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Now the first step you want to do, you're going to want to figure out the lean of the tree, which way it is likely to fall, and cut with the lean. Now poplars are very straight trees. They typically grow directly up without any lean, any curve, any bend of any kind. And this one you see is the same, but I do believe it has a very small lean, and I'm going to cut with that lean. And now the first cut you're going to make, and just like with any other tree, is you're going to cut a notch down here at the base. A notch is one that comes in from an upper angle, cutting kind of down and in, and then you'll cut a flat underneath it and let that come out. And then you'll go around and do the back cut. So let me show you how to start with the notch here first. So there you have the back, the notch that I've cut in there. Now it's not as pretty, of course, as you would have if you were cutting a tree with this much smaller diameter. You could do it in just one cut. Here, having taken 2 cuts from each side, obviously I had to cut from both sides and come from one side, then match over and try to match it on the other side. But you can see that it is certainly possible to make it clean enough. It doesn't have to be pretty as long as it's safe. And right in here you can see that it is certainly clean enough that it's going to work. You see right in through here. What you want is you don't want any big bumps over here or somewhere that's going to cause it to teeter as it falls the wrong way or something. As long as it's pretty smooth and pretty clean under there, we are in good shape. So now we're going to go do the back cut. Show you how to do that. With the back cut, we're going to start it behind the edge of the notch and about an inch above the bottom of the notch. We're going to start it behind it. We want to have a hinge. A hinge is something, no matter what size tree you're cutting, you'd want to have a hinge on it. Hinges should be about 10% to 20% of the diameter of the tree, of the thickness of it. So if you have a 30-inch tree, 10% would be a 3-inch hinge, 20% would be a 6-inch hinge, somewhere in there, probably closer to the 10% end. So we are going to start this thing. You can see right here is the back end of the notch. We're going to move it up an inch, and we're going to move it back 10% of the tree. So probably right about here is where we'll start. Now, if this was a standard size tree, we would just start hacking from the back end and stop here, drive our wedges in and let it come down. But since I do not have a saw big enough to do that, or I'm not using a saw big enough to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to start here. You could do what's called a plunge cut or a bore cut. We're going to go straight in with it till the bar is buried, and then we're going to pivot it around and go around in a circle. Apologize for all the sawdust flying right in the middle of my camera. I'm gonna have to move that to a different spot next time. I've cut this plunge cut. I've wrapped it kind of around. It's time to drive some wedges in before we go any farther with it. Alright, you can see here with my wedges, we've got quite a gap, probably slightly over an inch in here, and they're pretty loose. So this thing is about to go. Just want to go around and show you, this is the bore cut that I pivoted all the way around, and right here is where it meets up with the original notch. You see that right here being what's going to be my hinge, and we've got quite a gap. Heard it popping. This thing is about to fall. I don't know exactly when it's going to fall, but it is certainly about to fall. There it goes. There it goes. Back away. Timber! And I just saw a squirrel running away from that. Hopefully all the animals heard me yell timber. That is how you cut down a tree that is bigger than your chainsaw. Hope that was informative. Stay safe. So wow, what was that about? That tree just fell down. That was quite dangerous. Obviously I was safe and so on, but the tree just fell down. I knew it was, you know, kind of close to falling. I knew it was getting there. I thought that I had more time and more room. I was just going to drive those wedges in a little farther, show you a video of me, you know, giving it a whack, the last hammer blow on one of the wedges and watching it fall, and then all of a sudden, I think what it did, it caught some wind up there, and I had a smaller hinge than I thought I did. I thought I had a little more space under there, but that thing just went down. So you got to be really careful. Obviously, I was just right there pointing at my hinge, pointing at my bore cut, my plunge cut, and then the tree went. So got to be careful. Fortunately, I had cleared around the tree. Fortunately, I had angled it well. I knew which way it would fall, and I controlled which way it did fall, and it fell the right way, and so no problems. But definitely got to be careful anytime you're cutting a tree, especially a large one. There's certain things you never know. And that one was higher than almost all the trees around it. It might have caught some extra air up there blowing on it. I'm not sure, but it went down, and praise the Lord, I'm fine. Everybody's fine, but got to be careful.